The day NASA announced the mission, the world didn't react with excitement. It reacted with silence. Because this wasn't just another moon mission. This was the first manned return to the moon after decades, and there was a reason it took so long. Officially, it was budget. Unofficially, it was something else. Arif Hasan had dreamed of space since childhood. Growing up in a small town, he used to stare at the moon every night and imagine walking on it. But dreams change when you get closer to them. Now, sitting inside the briefing room at NASA headquarters, Arif felt something different. Not excitement, not fear, something heavier, like history was watching him. The mission was called Lunar Echo, a simple objective: land on the moon, collect deep subsurface samples, test new communication systems, return safely. That's what the public knew. But inside the closed briefing room, things were different. A senior official dimmed the lights and projected an image on the screen. It wasn't new. It was old footage, grainy, black and white, taken during the Apollo 11 moon landing. Arif leaned forward. He had seen this before. Everyone had. But then the official paused the video, zoomed in, and what Arif saw made his chest tighten. There was a figure standing far in the distance, not part of the original crew, not in the official records, just there, watching. Arif frowned. That's not supposed to be there. The official nodded slowly. It wasn't in the original transmission. Silence filled the room. Another scientist spoke. We discovered it years later, after reprocessing the footage. Arif swallowed. So what is it? The official didn't answer immediately. Instead, he changed the slide. A more recent image appeared, taken by an unmanned lunar orbiter. Same location, same angle, same figure. Still there, unmoved, unchanged, watching. That, the official finally said, is why you're going. The training was brutal, not physically, mentally. They trained Arif to handle isolation, delayed communication, sensory distortion. But there was one rule repeated over and over. Do not approach the figure. No explanation, no justification, just a rule. Arif asked once, "What happens if I do?" The instructor paused, then said quietly, "You won't come back the same." Launch day arrived. The rocket stood silent against the early morning sky. Arif sat inside the capsule, heart steady, mind focused. As engines ignited, the world fell away beneath him. For the first time in his life, he was leaving Earth. Hours turned into days. Space was not what he expected. It wasn't empty. It felt aware, like a vast silence that was listening. And then the moon appeared. Closer, larger, real. Arif's breath slowed. He whispered, "I'm here." Landing was smooth, perfect even. The lunar surface stretched endlessly, gray, silent, untouched. Arif stepped out, his boots pressed into dust that hadn't been disturbed in decades. History repeated itself, but this time he knew he wasn't alone. "Mission Control, I'm on the surface." Static. Then a delayed reply. "Copy that." But the delay felt longer than expected. Arif ignored it, focused on the mission, collected samples, set up instruments. Everything was normal. Until he saw it. Far in the distance, exactly where the footage showed. The figure, standing still, watching. Arif's chest tightened. "Control, I have visual confirmation." No response, just static. He adjusted his visor, zoomed in. The figure didn't move, didn't react, just stood there, as if it had always been there, and always would be. Arif remembered the rule, do not approach, but something about it pulled him, not physically, mentally, like a question that demanded an answer. He turned away, focused on his tasks, but every time he looked back, it was slightly closer. Not moving, just closer. "Control, do you see this?" he asked. No response, only static. The silence grew heavier. Arif's breathing became louder inside his helmet. He checked his systems. Everything was functioning, except communication. It was dead, completely. He was alone, on the moon, with something that shouldn't exist. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time felt different here. Arif looked again. The figure was closer now, much closer, still unmoving, still silent, but now he could see details. A suit, old, different from his own, outdated design, and then his blood ran cold. The helmet, it was scratched, worn, and on the chest, a name tag. He couldn't read it clearly, but it looked familiar, too familiar. Arif whispered, "No, that's not possible." The figure raised his head slightly, not moving, not stepping, just acknowledging him. And then Arif heard something, not through the radio, not through the air, but inside his head. A voice, his own voice. "You came back." Arif stumbled backward, heart racing. What are you?" The figure didn't answer. Instead, it stepped forward, slowly. For the first time, and as it moved, Arif saw the face behind the visor. His own face, older, tired, broken. "You weren't supposed to come this far," the older version said. Everything inside him screamed to run, but he couldn't, because he needed to understand. How is this possible? The older version looked at him, not with anger, not with fear, but with something worse, acceptance. "This is where it ends," he said quietly, "and where it begins again." Arif's mind struggled to process. "What do you mean?" The older version looked at the horizon. "The mission never ends. You land, you see me, and then you come here, and you become me." Arif shook his head. "No, I'm leaving. I'm going back." The older version smiled faintly. "I said the same thing." The ground beneath them felt wrong, like it wasn't just dust, but layers, layers of time, repeated, stacked, endlessly. Arif turned and ran, back to the lander. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. He didn't look back, didn't want to, because he knew if he did, the figure would be closer again. He reached the lander, entered, sealed the hatch. Hands shaking, he initiated launch sequence. Systems responded, engines ignited. The moon began to fall away beneath him. For a moment, everything felt normal again. Communication restored. Mission Control's voice returned. "Arif, do you copy?" Relief flooded his chest. "Yes, I'm returning." Silence. Then, "Returning from where?" Arif froze. "What do you mean? The moon?" Another pause. Then, "Arif, you never left orbit." His blood went cold. He looked at the window. The moon was still there, unchanged, untouched. No landing marks, no footprints, nothing. Arif whispered, "No, I was there." Then, in the reflection of the glass, he saw it, behind him, inside the capsule, the older version, standing silently, watching. "You always come back," it said softly. Arif turned slowly, heart breaking, mind collapsing. "Welcome back," the older version whispered. The capsule drifted silently in space, between Earth and the moon, and somewhere on the surface of the moon, a figure still stood, waiting for the next version to arrive.